Hi, Mike here again, and welcome to the Power Platform Carbon. Before I start, I'd like to apologise to any financial directors that I offended in my previous video. I'm really sorry that I singled you out. I didn't think it was too harsh, but there's been a couple of people offended, and I'm truly, deeply sorry for that. But let's move on. So what I've spoken about in my previous videos, I've spoken about what is success when it comes to software, what should it look like. I've tried to get us to think beyond the form over data and not think of that as being success. And I've tried to think about capturing admin and decision making into the software and allowing human beings to add creativity. Now, that's a very grand vision for the future. So let's park that. And let's go back to some basics here before you think I'm a fantasist. How do you get there? Well, Microsoft have given us the tools to achieve that. Microsoft have given us everything that we need to do. But first of all, what I need to explain, because a lot of people don't quite get this, and I'd really love you to share this video and get this word out to everybody, which is that SharePoint did not deliver everything that we wanted it to deliver. Now, I am and was a SharePoint professional. I did come into organizations, large, small, public, private, and I did set up SharePoint sites. And I have to say, I think I'm sorry, because I don't think they were the right thing to do. However, it was all we had. It was all we could do. Now, most organizations probably will say that SharePoint has been a bit of a toxic brand. And I get that. It's unfair. But I think it was down to the fact that we tried to do more with SharePoint than it was ever intended. And as a result of trying to leverage it beyond SharePoint, and you customers, you were quite guilty in this as well, because the number of times I was in an office at a meeting and somebody would say, we want SharePoint, but we don't want it to look like SharePoint, and we don't want it to behave like SharePoint, but we want SharePoint. And then I would use my technical skills to deliver something that didn't look like SharePoint, didn't behave like SharePoint, but was still SharePoint. Now, the problem with that is that the basic problem is that would never work. Why would it never work? Well, it's quite easy. Companies do not stay still. Companies evolve. Way back in the day, I was involved in the printing industry, and we used to deliver brochures, and people would pay a lot of money for brochures, and you would deliver with a nice box full of shiny brochures. You would cut it open and present it to the client and say, look, there's your new brochure. And they'd go, yeah, oh, we don't do that anymore. Yeah, now we've got a new version of that, and we do new things now instead of this. No sooner did we deliver a brochure that took maybe 6 to 12 weeks to deliver, than they were saying it was out of date. So, the problem with SharePoint is it needed to be fluid. The problem that we developers contributed was we broke it by developing things that didn't allow for ease of further customization. So, it hardly surprises me that SharePoint became the problem it became. Now, what we have to understand, and what I want everybody to get, I want the world to know this, is SharePoint has been demoted. It no longer is the container that should be branded, that should have workflow. None of that. SharePoint is just your data buckets. So the future that I would like to get most organizations to get involved in is SharePoint for their documents and their trivial data, and Dataverse for their hardcore numerical data. Obviously, there will be other systems like Xero or Sage or Dynamic Financials, whatever. There'll be other products where a lot of their data is held, but in the short term, they can use SharePoint as data buckets. We don't need to be looking at SharePoint now to become the highly functional, dynamic system that we've tried to do in the past. SharePoint has been demoted. It's still a great tool, and it's still a very important foundation. Now, in the next few videos, I'm going to be talking about the pillars of moving your business from very man-hydraulic to becoming very automated, what I like to call hyper-automation. And it's quite straightforward, and it's not as expensive as it used to be. And that's what the next videos are going to be about. This video was about trying to get everybody to understand that Office 365 is not SharePoint development. SharePoint has been demoted. Nobody should have a SharePoint strategy. You should have an Office 365 strategy. It just so happens that we will use SharePoint for storing our data. But let's not make that the focus. let's just make that one of the tools that we have in our container.